everyone, myself Shunoy Boidya and you are watching Curiosity with Shunoy. Today we will discuss about majoritarianism in Sri Lanka. In my previous video, we discussed about the ethnic composition of Belgium and the accommodation process of Belgium. But in today's video, we will discuss about the Sri Lankan ethnic compositions, majoritarianism in Sri Lanka, and moreover, we are trying to understand how the majority government of Sri Lanka imposed its oppressive rule on the minorities and which resulted in civil war. And finally, we will have a comparative discussions between Belgium and Sri Lanka. So friends, keep watching this video till the end. Okay, let's start with my video with the case study of Sri Lanka. First, we'll discuss about ethnic composition of Sri Lanka, then religion, majoritarianism in Sri Lanka, and the struggle of Indian Tamils. So let's start with ethnic composition of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is an island nation and lies a few kilometers off southern coast of Tamil Nadu. And it has approximately as many people as in Haryana, which is about 2 crore. Sri Lanka has diverse populations like other South Asian countries, where 74% people speak in Sinhala language and only 18% people speak in Tamil language. So if we are trying to understand the ethnic composition of Sri Lanka, we can say that the majority community speak in Sinhala language or Singholi language, and 18% people who speak in Tamil language, they are minority in the country. Now, I am talking about subgroups of Tamils. There are 2 subgroups among Tamils: Sri Lankan Tamils and Indian Tamils, who are considered the Sri Lankan Tamils, Tamil natives of the country, who constitute 13% of population. And where they located? Sri Lankan Tamils are concentrated in the north and east of the country. Now, who were considered the Indian Tamils, or who are considered the Indian Tamils? The Tamils whose forefathers came from India as a plantation workers during colonial rule and settled in Sri Lanka are called Indian Tamils, and they constitute 5% of populations. Now, I am trying to understand the religions. If we look at the religions combinations in Sri Lanka, most of the Sinhala speaking people are Buddhist, while most of the Tamil are Hindus or Muslim. We know that Tamils are minority in the country, where Sinhala or Singholi speaking people, they are the majority people. So most of the Sinhala speaking people are Buddhist, while most of the Tamil are Hindus or Muslim, and there are about 7% Christian who speak both Tamil and Singholi. So this is the religion combinations of Sri Lanka. Now, we are discuss about majoritarianism in Sri Lanka. So first, we trying to understand what is majoritarianism. So if we trying to give a definition of majoritarianism, so when we trying to understand the majoritarianism process in Sri Lanka, so first of all we have to understand the definition. So what is actually majoritarianism? So majoritarianism is concept which signifies a belief that the majority community should be able to rule a country in whichever way it want by disregarding the wishes and needs of the majority. So this is like dictatorship. Here, minority community, they don't had any options in their hands. So they don't get any opportunity in private sector or in job or in educations. So always they were feel they were not safe in the country. So this is the actually process where majority community actually they rule the country in whichever way it want by disregarding the wishes and needs of the minority. Now if we look at the majoritarianism measures to establish Sinhala supremacy, what are the Sri Lankan majority government taken the policy in Sri Lanka to establish the Sinhala supremacy, which was actually called majoritarianism process. So first of all, we have to understand the number one, the Sri Lankan government adopted a series of majoritarianism measure to establish Sinhala supremacy. Number two, an act was passed in 1956 to recognize Sinhala as the only official language. And number three, the government followed preferential policies that favor Sinhala applicants for university positions and government jobs. And number fourth, a new constitution stipulated that the state shall protect and promote Buddhism. So if you look at the Sinhala government policy, the minority community Tamils, they don't get any opportunities in Sri Lanka. That's why this is called majoritarianism measures. Actually, majority community, Singhali community, they wanted to establish Sinhala supremacy in Sri Lanka. That's why they were neglected the Tamil community. They always wanted to establish Sinhala supremacy. So that's why Tamil people, they were not happy with the majoritarian measures which actually was taken by Sri Lankan majority government. So it's very unfortunate rule, a very unfortunate rule. So a new constitution which actually stipulated that the state shall protect and promote Buddhism. So there is a particular religions they wanted to promote in Sri Lanka, that is Buddhism or Buddhism. So all these government measures gradually increased the feeling of alienation among Sri Lankan Tamils. So all the policies was taken by Singhali government. It's was very unfortunate. So that's why the relation between the Sinhala and Tamil communities became tensed over time. And now we're trying to understand the struggle of Sri Lankan Tamils. So what the initial steps that time the Sri Lankan Tamils actually was taken by Sri Lankan Tamils, we have to understand. So Sri Lankan Tamils launched political parties and struggles for the recognitions of Tamil as an official language. So they wanted to demand for the official language Tamil as an official language. They demanded regional autonomy and equality of opportunity in securing education and job. But their demand was repeatedly denied. So they want educations, they want jobs, which actually they were not getting by the Singhali government. So they don't had any job security, they don't had any educational facilities. So that's why they demanded regional autonomy and equality for opportunity in securing education and jobs. But their demand was rapidly denied by the 1980s. Several political organizations like LTTE, Liberation of Tamil Eelam, were formed demanding an independent Tamil Eelam or state in northern and eastern parts of Sri Lanka. So they formed a organizations that is actually military organizations, LTT, and it was operated by the leader Prabhakaran. That time these organizations, it had huge power in Sri Lanka, like ISIS. So you can say a terrorist organizations. Actually, we can't say terrorist organization because this is a civil war in Sri Lanka, which actually happening this time in Sri Lanka. So Prabhakaran was the leader of Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam. Eelam means separate state. They want a separate state from Sinhala community in northern eastern parts of Sri Lanka. And the conflict between the two communities soon turned into a civil war. So if you look at the pictures of Sri Lankan, so there are this time, and our ex-prime minister Rajiv Gandhi was died for the civil wars. You all know that. So result of civil war in Sri Lanka, the civil war resulted in the killing of thousands of people of both communities. It also caused great impact to the social, cultural and economic life to the country. Many families were forced to leave the country as refugees, and lots of people lost their livelihood. And at the end, civil war ended very badly in 2009. So this civil war actually damaging most in Sri Lanka. It destroyed the culture, it destroyed the economic life of Sri Lanka, it destroyed the social life of Sri Lanka. So it also caused great impact to the social, cultural and economic life of Sri Lanka. Many families were forced to leave the country as a refugee. Lots of people lost their livelihood. And after the bloody civil war, it actually ended in the year 2009.